Greetings. I'm Suzanne Tidkemeyer. I used to write for a place called Pathos for over 10 years, a column called No Longer Quiverings, where I wrote about the quiverful evangelical movement. It is a strange little corner of this world, the non denominational, high demand evangelical world, and I've been writing about this for quite some time. So, we're going to have an adventure today. Today is supposed to be Taco Tuesday, but it is not because I'm I'm at peace in my peaceable kingdom mostly today, and I not have anything really I need to talk about or want to talk about or inspired to talk about throughout this nonsense. Let me say first, don't harass anybody that I talk about here. Never go real life. These are just my thoughts and opinions. Everybody should form their own thoughts and opinions. They should do their research and figure out where they line up on stuff. What I will be doing today is reading a chapter of my book because my book is on the verge of being published. I'm hoping within the next 2 months it will come out. The name is called With Strange Fire because I've used a scripture to start this with about ending up in a place that was a far land with strange fire. That describes our entire journey into and out of our problematic high demand religious organization, our non denominational evangelicalism. So that's a good descriptor, that title for me. I really originally thought I was going to go with something sarcastic like Jesus ate my brain or Confessions of a Holy Spirit crackhead, something like that. But I figured I might as well go with something a little more subtle. So my book is partially about my journey, but it's also partially about things I learned on my way in and out and things I've since figured out about evangelical non-denominational, these taco type churches, totalitarian authoritative church organizations. So it's kind of a mixed bag. And I've gone back and forth on this about the whole focus of the book with my attorney last week. And she said to me, it's like, well, you have enough people's names and dates changed, and some of the identifying information that if somebody steps forward and says, that's me you're talking about, now I'm going to sue you. A, they're going to have a hard time proving it. B, if they identify themselves as one of the most awful behaving people in your story, then they're exposing what true failures of human beings they are. And there's a lot of truth to that one. I started to rewrite it, going with a kinder, more gentler narrative. And then finally, I started thinking, why? Why? If people had wanted me to talk kindly about them, they should have behaved with dignity and decency. They shouldn't have gone into CULT territory. So there you go. The chapter I'm going to read today is called They Call Me Slim Shady. And there's a reason for that. Now, before I read this, I have to tell you guys there's going to be a video pop up on my YouTube channel sometime this afternoon or this evening of my cat. Because this morning I meant to do all this and have a live stream earlier in the day. But I got up this morning and I'm sitting here, I'm having my iced coffee in my janky, not really right Coke cup someone bought me. And I'm sitting here just like I am now, and suddenly this head pops up above my computer right there in the window because I have my computer pushed right up against the window. I like the natural light on my skin. I like the way it looks. I like being able to look out over my garden, fried though it is right now because of dry season. So this little head comes up, and it's a snake head, and it has its mouth wide open, and it's hissing. And so I'm like, what? Jump back about 10 feet, and Then saw my cat jump up there, Stinky. Stinky is he's about a 7-year-old male, 6, 7 years old. We got him as a stray from one of the local vets when he was 8 weeks old. He is a battler and he fights snakes. So this was a gray snake, just like we see here frequently. I think that it's non-poisonous. I looked it up. There aren't many poisonous snakes here, just a handful, and they're mostly brightly colored. So he was beating up on this snake, and I went outside to try to get him away from the snake, like I usually do when I see him beating up on the snakes. And it took me a while. I actually started filming some of it, so it's going to go up. It's going to go up on my YouTube channel, Stinky Snake Fighting. And I have a ton of Costa Rica videos I have to put up too, including one I'm going to be making tomorrow. We are taking the monkey trail, the infamous monkey trail from our home here in the Tamarindo area up to Papagayo, the Papagayo area. We need to go look at some possible investments. Yesterday, we were looking on Playa Grande at some of the possible investments. Tomorrow, it's Papagayo. So stay tuned. I'm going to be posting those. And when I know more what we're doing as far as real estate investments and things, I'll take you guys on that journey too, because it's always an interesting one with these things in Costa Rica. And I'm excited. There's a lot of really positive things happening in my life, as long as my free form anxiety that I sometimes get, that I think is part of the mastocytosis, as long as it doesn't rear its head, we're golden. So I just want to tell you guys about that before I start reading the chapter of my book. Okay? So I am going to do that now. It's a chapter called Will the Real Slim Shady Please Stand Up? Please stand up. Please stand up. Chicka, 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 bow. Eminem. One of the biggest problems with actually leaving what I mentally call Fundy Town is the pervasive thoughts you will still have that take time, intentionality to kill. Well, I was writing this chapter. I was staying with my daughter, and I got to witness yet again what self imposed guilt looks like. Trust me, some religious organizations are really, really good at inculcating this within you so deeply that you don't even realize you have that thing within you. My daughter lives in the suburban Maryland area, mere minutes outside of Washington, D.C. border. I mean, mere minutes. Leafy shaded streets, lots of older brick homes. Lovely area. I'm outside just returning from a run to the grocery store. Some of the neighbors across the street are loading things into a pickup truck. Then a young man appears, a scrawny little thug light of a white boy in a beat up older model Hyundai or Nissan. His car is tricked out with crazy flashing lights, spitting shiny rims, and just other ludicrous items. With the bass blaring so loud you can't think, and the music blasting out, the dulcet tones of Marshall Eminem Mathers singing The Real Slim Shady assault everyone's eardrums. The guys across the street and I start dancing. Chicken, chicken, Slim Shady, we're singing along. They call me what? And we start dancing, smiling over the utter absurdity right up until our free DJ cuts it off and he slows down. What happened? Why did the music stop? The next door neighbor is dating a local police officer, and he was backing his duty car into the driveway at the exact same moment. Our young musical miscreant took one look at the car and shut it all down. The mere sight of an off duty long arm of the law was all it took to engage that fear, respect, and other inner coding of this young man. That he knew in his heart that what he was doing was wrong in the eyes of society. While moving throughout my day, I kept thinking about this young man, his reaction to law enforcement, and thinking there was a lesson there. for me. I just didn't know what it was at first. What I finally figured out is it represents is when you are pulling away from that toxic power structure in your life. The inner thought patterns still line up with the old group. The old guilt still controls you. The Catholic Church is expert at guilt, laying it on people. But as a Jewish friend of mine likes to say, Jews own guilt and Catholics merely rent it out. That guilt for what he was doing is still within that young man, as it is in so many of us. Evangelical churches are now experts at controlling people via guilt too. Guilt is most of the time something of a useless emotion that hampers us more than helps us. It feeds us lies about just about any situation we've been conditioned to feel guilty over. Those of us who struggle with it the most seem to have less to genuinely feel guilty for, while the truly guilty folks rush around like the happy sociopaths they seem like to the rest of us, living guilt free lives. I think the car incident is a pretty perfect picture of what happens when we've ditched the old toxic theology, but the strength of our new convictions and healing isn't quite strong enough to override the original coding. I would use the term brainwashing here, but brainwashing is turned into such a trite and overused term that it just feels meaningless at this point. But really, what happens is when we join these high demand religious organizations, is that it does have a lot in common with the ideas of brainwashing. Slowly or quickly, everything you know is replaced by whatever it is that your group believes. This is a crucial moment because this is the make it or break it moment of all of these groups. People with enough healthy skepticism realize quickly that the groupthink and dynamics are so toxic and they break away. Those on the fence either get with the program and start embracing and absorbing all of the groupthink, or they slowly fade away and they eventually get shunned by the group. Those of us who buy the baby and the bathwater have years and hell getting that inner voice from the old church to simply just shut the hell up after we leave. I'm out many years now at the time of this writing, and that ugly yammering thing still rears its spiteful head once in a great while. And I get as shut down, shut up, and silent as some kid playing an ancient rap song in front of a cop. Those thoughts, they emerge almost instinctively, and just like my mother's voice does when I view a woman smoking a cigarette. My mother's voice and phraseology turn out to have been one of my grandmother's sayings that I think she likely got from her mother. My great grandmother was exactly the kind of salty old broad that I could imagine uttering that nasty phrase I'm not going to repeat here about women who smoke. I know it's not true, and it's not what I think of women smoking, but that foolish thing is still in there, just gumming up the works. So, what chance do we have of evicting these thought roaches left over from time spent in a CULT church? It's a day by day journey. And the most helpful thing I've learned in my time in recovery is that every single time one of these things appears on our mental horizons is to stop and simply tell that thing the truth. Example, seeing a scantily clad woman on the beach wearing a thong bikini bottom with her derriere cheeks waving in the breeze. CULT thought. Look at that, a modest SULT with her butt cheeks hanging out. Tell the CULT to take a hike. There's nothing wrong with her outfit. And what she wears or does not wear does not determine what kind of person she is. It's literally her own business and not mine what she does and does not wear. And she looks great in that bikini. Her body is perfect just the way it is, just like all of our bodies are perfect the way they are. Okay, that was strange. I just had a mourning dove fly face first, head first into my windows here, which are darkened with sun protection. Very bizarre. Okay, sometimes, okay, where was I? There will be days after leaving where you have to do that, telling off the CULT voice with the truth many times a day, especially at first, you have to. Practice makes perfect, and eventually that CULT inner voice will slow down, emerging less and less until it mostly stops speaking. Sometimes it helps to do, quote, normal things like read a book, listen to music, or watch television or movies, things that were unapproved of by your old church, exposure to real life and real daily culture. To copy a meme I saw recently is to live your life in a way that confuses and angers Jim Bob Duggar. I'm wearing yoga pants and a sleeveless shirt right now writing this. Does that count? One of the things I've done post old church is to immerse myself in culture. Culture that was forbidden, strictly forbidden back in the day. Books, movies, and most of all, music. As a singer, I've always loved music, most all music, rock and roll, country, rap, R&B, you name it, and I probably love it, which is how I knew the song that was being blasted out on the suburban streets that afternoon and why there are so many silly cultural references in this book. During my old Possum Creek church time, I would have never have listened to Eminem because he rhymes naughty words and sometimes uses sexual reference in his songs. Now I'm glad I listened to him and so many others. The sly comedic turns in some of his songs make me laugh, and if there's anything I love more than music, it's laughing. Laughter is very good medicine for anything that pretty much ails you. And that's it. That's one little short chapter that I managed to write and edit. I've got most of these chapters and things completely edited. I only have a few more things that I really need to work on to get in the book and then sort all the chapters so they are not flow in a kind of chronological order because right now they don't. And I'm working on that. That's my next big goal. Expanding on a few things because I didn't realize you have to explain things for people to get those things. And if you're not explaining things, no one's going to understand where it is you're coming from or what any of that means. And that wouldn't be good for anybody. I I seek to explain the red hot mess that these churches have found themselves in. These evangelical, non-denominational, high-demand religious organizations have just spun into such weird directions. Hello, Christian nationalism, that we are seeing crazy things playing out every day, which makes me think that this is probably the time to go ahead and release the book, even if somebody from the old church gets their hands on it and reads it. Because if they do, I stand by every word. Those things happen. Now, there was nothing that happened that was in this book, but I also need to add into this chapter that after I left my old church and I was starting to go on my uh, deconstruction journey, one of the things that happened was I shared on Facebook a video for one of Eminem's songs. And somebody from the church went off the deep end, telling me what a horrible sinner Eminem was and how he was going to hell and just all this stuff. And it's like, look, I didn't say that I approved of every word out of his mouth or every citing, everything. I don't. But the video was very clever. The song was clever. And the references were truly funny, some of them. So I thought that was the funniest pushback I ever got from my old church about Eminem. It's going to go in that chapter. It's one of the things I have to add. I got to add that woman to that. And it was just so out of the blue. I write myself a note because I am notorious. And I'm adding recovery links and things in there. That's really what's going on. There are a lot of things that I'm having to expand upon. Like I wrote a little tiny bit about food insecurity in my old group. There was massive food insecurity. People who didn't feed their kids, kids that looked like unwashed ghosts. There were kids that crammed themselves silly during Sunday school and post church fellowship time. There are people that believed in junk science. I have to expand that a little bit. And I need to fill out Ron Luce's profile in a chapter I wrote about what happened when my daughter went off on a global expeditions mission trip. It wasn't all good. Let's just put it that way. And I wonder, has the NTSB ever come out with a final report on Gwen Shamlin's plane crash? It's been a few years now, 3 maybe, and I think it's probably time. It probably is time. And there's another story I need to add in here that I haven't. The time that our pastor made everybody arm up to the teeth. Fortunately, this occurred after I left, but I was still on their social media. I was still getting newsletters. They had dropped me from any of that yet. And I didn't have the wherewithal to drop myself from that stuff. I just kept seeing it and I was jaw dropped because our pastor started preaching the gospel of the gun, getting everybody to buy guns, hiring an off-duty police officer to train them how to shoot, and to take them to the shooting range. I think about that one a lot because it's one of those things that I just still cannot get over because Jesus never said, buy a gun. He never hinted that you were to get a sword and arm yourself to the teeth, even though I know my profile on Twitter and on Facebook is of me literally holding my machete up. Jesus never told us to do any of that crap. And for churches to add this to their whole curriculum just is not good. Not good at all. So, and I need to expand my chapter on boundaries. So, I like this chapter because it gives you a good taste of a true story leading to an important point of theology and an important point of how to recover from what you've been through. Because some of these exercises that I mentioned here are literally the best way. You end up on the other side of it going, and why was I so hung up on that? And why did it take me forever? Why did I have to stop and tell the truth to my thoughts? Why did I have to tell my brain to stop thinking X, Y, and Z about certain people and people groups? Because that's what happened. They get in your brain, this crap goes wrong, and there you go. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go. I need to cook lunch. It's actually pretty late for lunch. And go out, fill the bird bath. You guys have a wonderful day. I'll be thinking about you guys tomorrow and taking a video of our trip on the monkey trail and going to Papagayo. I'm excited. I'm very excited about the trip tomorrow because it could really open some doors for me here, and I could I could be able to make a good investment in this stuff, and that would be good. Love you guys. Take care. If you could hit like, subscribe, ring the bell notification on your way out of here, that would be good too. If not, it's all good.